Everyone says progress isn't linear, but nobody actually explains what to do when it isn't. You're doing everything right. You set a goal, you committed to it, and you've already gotten past that initial stage of wanting to give up. You pushed through the beginning where nothing was happening. You stayed consistent, and it started working. You could see real progress. But then something shifts. Maybe you hit a plateau, maybe things flatline, they're stagnant, they're not going forward. Or maybe even worse, you hit a dip and things are just going backwards. You start losing results that you already had achieved. And now you're stuck in this weird place of, do I wait it out and hope I can keep pushing and go forward? Or is it time to quit? Is this working or is this failing? And this happens because we all expect progress to be this straight line up. Once you start seeing momentum, it's going to gain and it's just going to keep going up and up and up. Not very many people are showing you this messy middle stage in between point A starting and point B getting to your goal. Even some people say progress is going to be up and down, but overall it's going to keep trending upwards. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it dips and crashes all the way back to square one. Sometimes it peaks and it dips and it peaks and it dips. Sometimes it's flat. It should, at the end of the day, be trending upwards if you're going to hit your goal, but it does tend to sometimes crash back down way further than you expected it to, which can be very demotivating. And as always, social media does not ever give us an accurate representation of reaching your goals. It always shows you, just the final end result or, maybe some little clips of some of the struggles in between, but it doesn't really show this huge dip or, I spent 3 months plateaued, nothing was moving, nothing was working. It was depressing, it was demotivating, I didn't know what to do. Social media just doesn't tend to show us those things. And we become wired to think that consistent effort will equal consistent results because that's what looks motivating. That's what's really watchable on social media. Like, I kept pushing, I kept going, and I kept climbing up. I kept taking the next steps. I finally reached my goal. And while that can be true for some smaller goals you have, usually these bigger goals like health, wellness, your career, businesses you try and start, those are going to have a lot more variation. Those are going to have a lot more ups and downs. That graph is going to, see some good progress and it's going to dip back down and it's going to see progress and it's going to dip back down, or it's going to be flat for a while and then maybe go down and then go back up. You never know, but it's going to be real messy. It's not going to be a nice clean line and it's not going to be predictable. And this is what nobody's warning you about when you're trying to reach your goals. And this is why a lot of people give up too soon. And just to clarify, what's the difference between a plateau and a dip? What's the real difference? How can you tell? So a plateau is going to be when things have just straight up flatlined. You're not making progress, but you're also not losing progress. So maybe you're working out and now you can lift 50 pounds. And for 2 weeks, you're just not getting any progress. You can't do it any heavier. And you're like, have I reached my max? My goal was 70 pounds. Or am I failing? Am I not doing something right? It could just be that your body, that's as far as it can go at this moment. And it just needs a little bit longer time to build up to a heavier weight. Maybe it was really easy to progress from 5 pounds to 10 to 20 to 30, and it took a little longer for 40 and a little longer for 50. Now it's going to take even longer for 60 or 70 because it's compounding. It's getting harder and harder. So that can be a good example of a plateau. Whereas a dip is when things start actively going backwards. They start going downhill. Progress you've made, you start losing. And I'd say there's two kinds of dips. There's a dip that's, you're going up like this and then all of a sudden it just drops real sharp. Usually something's changed in your life when that happens, or changed in whatever, working towards your goals. There's also more of a steady dip where things are going up and then all of a sudden they start going backwards, but it's not as steep of a drop. It's more like this. That's almost a worse one. That's like something's going wrong for sure, because you're steadily going backwards. If you just suddenly drop, sure, something went wrong, but it's probably something more easily fixable. You can probably pinpoint what exactly went wrong. But when it's going like this, it's like, what's happening? Sometimes you don't notice you're going backwards at first. So there's those two different kinds. And an important thing to remember about dips, though, is that they contain information. If you're willing to look at them, to not freak out, take a look and see, what is this dip telling me about my journey towards my goals. So if, like I said, if it suddenly drops, probably something changed that's easily fixable. If you've been on a consistent workout journey and all of a sudden you got sick, maybe you're out for like 2 weeks, you didn't get to work out. When you come back, you can't lift as heavy, you're a little bit weaker than before, you can't run as long, whatever your goals are you're working towards. It's okay, it's to be expected, it's normal, and it's not going to be too hard to get back up to where you were. Of course, you don't want to lose progress. If you'd been healthy and you took 2 weeks off, you might be able to get back to where you were right away, or it might maybe a little bit quicker. But you're sick, it happens, life happens, it's okay. But that's very easy to notice exactly what happened, and you can fix it. Like, you're not sick anymore and you're going to get back into your routine. Or another example, like let's say you started a business and the first month, like things were going successful. Somehow you thought your strategy, everything's perfect, like you're getting sales right away. And then all of a sudden everything just like crashes and burns. You're getting 0 sales. It's not working out. And you're like, what happened? Take a look. Maybe it was simply luck. Maybe it was just the right timing for what you were selling. Maybe you decided to sell around Christmas. You thought like your whole business idea was great. And then January, February comes around and it crashed. It's not. Maybe you just had a really popular item for the time or something like that. So that can give you information too. Like maybe your business idea wasn't the best actually. You just had good timing at the moment. You can fix that. You can try and come up with a better business idea or decide to time products based on certain times of year. Whatever you want to do with that information. But if a dip is, going backwards more slowly, that probably means something more serious is wrong, something less easily fixable, because you may not even notice that you're slipping at first until you really start noticing, hey, like something's not working here. Like, again, let's say you have a habit that you'd built consistently. Maybe you were like, I want to learn art and I want to learn how to draw and I'm going to draw every single day, pick something and get a little bit better. And then you start losing progress. Instead of every day or every other day. And then it's every other 3 days, every 4 days. Then you've like just done it once a week in the past 6 weeks. And you're like, man, what happened? Am I just not cut out for this? Do I not like it? But actually, if you look at that dip, instead of just quitting, you need to look at it and decide, is it not working for me? Do I not like it? Or is there something going on with my routine that's not allowing me to consistently do this every single day? So where a lot of people go wrong is trying to completely avoid these dips or these plateaus. Like a plateau happens and they're like, I'm not making progress. This doesn't work anymore. I give up. Or a dip happens and dips feel even worse, right? Sometimes a dip in your progress feels even worse than never having started because you've already tasted the success. You've already seen like progress towards your goals. You know how good that feels. So when you lose progress, when you're not headed towards your goal anymore, it feels horrible. You feel like you're a failure, you're doing something wrong. So it can be very easy to make a permanent bad decision based on this temporary dip or this temporary plateau in your progress. The problem is this is simply a feeling, it's not a fact. You just feel like, oh, my progress is stalled or it's going backwards. You feel like you're failing. And then based on that feeling, you decide to quit. That's the wrong decision though. Before you make any kind of decision like this, you need to zoom out, take a look at the past few weeks, few months, few years, depending on how long you've been working towards this goal, and see what your progress has looked like overall. Have there been previous dips, previous plateaus that you pushed through and was fine and you're still making progress towards your goals? If you're in a plateau, are your foundations still solid? Are you still sticking to your routines? Are you still sticking to your goals that are helping you towards your bigger picture goal? Like if you have a workout routine and you're not making any progress the past 2-3 weeks, have things been the same or did something change? Have you been, a little bit less consistent? Have you not been eating as well? Have you not been sleeping as well? Have you been taking care of yourself? If you can answer yes to all those things, everything's been the same, then you probably just need to wait it out. Your body probably is just taking a little longer to get to that next level. If you're, business or career path, whatever, you've been making progress and all of a sudden you're kind of just stuck in the same position. You're not making less money, but you're not making more money. You're not seeing any improvements, any more achievements, but you haven't lost any progress. The two options are, it's just in a kind of a plateau. It just needs a little bit more time to get to that next level, or maybe there's something you can switch up a little bit. Maybe it's time to incorporate some new ideas to help it go back up again. So if you're in a plateau, the two options are be patient or level up your approach, find something you can change up a little bit to help get yourself out of that plateau and continuing your upward progress. And then if you're in a dip, if you notice your progress is going backwards, if it's a sharp drop, just like a plateau, stay the course, analyze what changed, what happened, and then redirect, get yourself back on track, and you're gonna get back up to where you were pretty quickly and continue that upward progress. However, if it's slowly sliding backwards, something needs to change. So analyze what you've been doing in the past that was working, what you're doing before this started to change or while it's changing for the worse, and see what kind of changes did you make? What are you doing or not doing that's causing this progress to go backwards, not just stall? And make changes based on that. If you didn't change anything and it's going backwards, then maybe it's not working out. Maybe it's time to consider quitting. But at least take a look back to get a big picture view. And at that point, you'll have analyzed and have more facts to make this decision to quit based on, not just this feeling of I'm a failure, this is failing. So no matter if it's a plateau or dip, zoom out, look at the big picture, get the facts, and make that call to quit or keep going or change something based on a clear mind, a clear picture, not just your feelings in this low moment towards your goals. And something you can remember as well is that the fact that you've made progress before means you have proof that you can do it again. So even if you're in a dip, even if things went backwards, you have this proof that you can achieve your goals, you can work towards them, that you've already gotten up here, even though you're down here right now. So your skills, your knowledge, your experience, everything you've learned working towards your goals, you still have all that knowledge, you still have those skills, you still have that experience. And even if you decide to quit, you can apply it to your next venture, to your next project, to your next goal, even though this one thing did fail. Or best case scenario, it's not failing and you have all these tools to get back to where you need to be once you figure out what's wrong and you get it changed up. You know, the people who stick it out, who analyze, who make the changes, they're the ones that usually succeed. If you just quit and you keep quitting every time things get hard, every time things go backwards, you're probably never going to really reach your goals. You're only going to get partway there every time. And you need to remind yourself why you started in the first place. What motivated you, and whether or not it still motivates you, still excites you. Sometimes you can analyze, is this still my goal? Because sometimes we slip off track too because we don't care about something anymore. Maybe you started something a year or two ago, you were working towards it, and you've reached a point where you just, it's good enough. Even though your goal was up here, you decide this is good enough, but sometimes you don't consciously decide that. It's more subconscious. And then you've hit a plateau or progress starts sliding backwards and you're wondering why. So sometimes it's good to analyze too, like, why did I even have this goal in the first place? Does it still align with what I want in life? Because like I've talked about before, sometimes our goals in life do change, and that's okay. Sometimes we try things and we realize they're not for us, but they push us on towards the next thing that's going to help us towards our goals or our dream life. And also a dip or even a plateau, but especially dips, they can force you to find a better approach than you are already taking. So it's not just a negative thing, like you did something wrong that you need to change. It's not necessarily you did something wrong. Sometimes it's just showing you there's a better way to do it, but you needed it to fail for you to realize that. So overall, just expect dips, expect plateaus. Your progress is not going to be a straight line up. It's going to be up and down, up and down. This is simply a part of the process. Progress was never supposed to be clean. The messy middle is not a sign you're doing it wrong. It's actually a sign that you're in this whole process, you're doing it right, and you need to keep going.